Hello, Internet! I'm Shortround, or Wily in real life, or Shortround13 on Minecraft. You get the picture. Anyways, I'm here to talk to you about the evacuation in World War II. After a quick trip with the doctor, I learnt a bit more facts about the evacuation. He asked me what I knew already. Not much, eh? The evacuation process. Children who lived in big cities and towns such as London and Chelmsford were all taken away from their families and taken to the countryside or somewhere where they were unlikely to be found by the Nazis. Mostly they were taken by train to smaller destinations and then dropped off with local families, who agreed a certain amount of children. Unfortunately, most children were split up from their brothers and sisters. This was because families could not afford to look after a whole family of children. Okay, that was easy. When did it start exactly? Only a couple of weeks into the beginning of the war. By about the 3rd of September 1939, nearly 2 million children had been successfully evacuated. So it was all the children who were evacuated? Yes, from children of 2 years old and younger to teens, who were just reaching secondary school. You would have gone. But it wasn't just kids, it was disabled people too, whether it just be blindness or paralysed legs. They would be boarding the train and immediately flee the country. Well, maybe not the country, I don't know why I said country. So, all this because of some bombs? Well, of course, you wouldn't expect children to stay in an area full of exploding hunks of metal, would you? Obviously. Anyways, so for weeks the trains and cars would be on a busy schedule going everywhere but the city. So, you said they were all evacuated to the countryside? Yes, actually. The trains left the big city and headed straight towards even smaller stations. Most of them were on branch lines. They would then either have to find their own way to their new home, or an assistant of the household would come and pick them up. After that, they were taken to their new household, where they would spend most of the war there. That must have felt awful though, evacuating away from your home to go live with strangers in a different environment. Yes, you've seen The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. You were in it. You should know about how the children felt about the evacuation. Not just them, but the families as well. The thought of their children leaving with a possibility they could never be seen again was horrific. I guess it's a good thing all those people got evacuated. Otherwise they might have all died in the Blitz. I don't know much about the Blitz. Please inform me. Oh, okay then. The Blitz. Where should we begin? How about the 7th of September 1940? I thought you said you didn't know anything. Anywho, it was a chilling night for the United Kingdom. On that very night, over 100 tons of high explosive were deposited by the Nazis onto the major cities of Britain. For over 260 days, 37 weeks, Britain suffered tremendously with craters of death. My God. You know, I've been there myself. I went there to pay a good old visit to Winston, but it seemed that I had picked a bad night. I found myself lost in the streets of London. Then I heard this horrible siren. The siren was caught in my head and I couldn't get it out. I then heard a pitter-patter of feet running through the puddle. I noticed two children running down the street and round the bend as fast as they could. I then noticed the German planes fly above and the tall buildings in the alleyway. I ran as fast as I could when I heard a faint whistling sound. I leaped into the TARDIS and took off. Boy, it was frightening. Yikes! Did you go back? Actually, yes I did. I returned the next day to visit the crowded area. It had been locked off from the public. The crater was huge. It spanned many meters. But then one of the worst things struck me. 2 children lying injured on the ground, both with a bag of vegetables in their hand. They were unconscious. I shouted loudly to get the policeman's attention and showed them the children. They were taken immediately to hospital. They were only trying to get home with the little amount of food they had. Are they okay? Yes, I visit them every year or so to see how they are doing. What was that about the food? What? Oh yes, the food rationing. Now where to begin? Tesco's? That's not funny. Damn. Let's see. Rationing. The process of taking necessary items and keeping them safe stored away for the future use. Mostly the purpose of saving things because of storage. I do remember the fact that back in the early 20th century we didn't have many resources. Most of our clothes and food came from our own country, which meant during the war all food was very hard to make because we were continuously being bombed. This is why people rationed resources such as food and clothing so we could have more time based on preparing for war. Oh, so you do know your stuff. I pay attention in lessons. Do you know what kind of food was rationed? Fruit and vegetables and meat? Basically, everything needs to keep a healthy diet. You would have to keep most food rationed, but no snacks. You might have a breakfast bar or two, but you would never be stocked to the top with them. I don't think I could cope with that. Me neither. I need my jammy dodgers every now and then, and maybe a jelly baby or two. I guess with all the work they got, they would have to be practically eat everything. Definitely, no food to waste. Well, that's all from us, folks. See you next time. Bye! Hope you enjoyed this insight of knowledge.